In 2025, America is filled with so many people, each one intersecting between different identities. How does being trans intersect with being Black? How does being disabled intersect with being a member of the LGBTQ community? How do all of these identities influence how you navigate your life? Critical Mass is a show about people, identity, and the human need to connect. Today, I'm sitting down with Simon Chong, a supervising director on the Emmy-winning Bob's Burgers, and the creator of those viral Bob's Burgers dance videos you've probably seen all over your For You pages. Simon offers a unique perspective on representation in media, navigating politics when you can't vote, and how shows like Bob's Burgers provide hope during tough times. Fair warning, this basically turned into a 2-hour love letter to one of my favorite shows. But honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm Jovan Bradley, and this is Critical Mass. Simon, we connected via Instagram.
I did.
You had sent me a message, which I always get really happy when I get the happy messages.
Good.
Most of my messages are
I'm sure they're
completely out of pocket and unhinged from the conservative-leaning America. And then I went onto your profile and first of all noticed I have seen and liked and commented on this person's videos a bunch.
You had?
Because the dance videos that you make. So for those who don't know, Simon makes these short videos for TikTok and the short form content sites of the Bob's Burgers characters dancing to like more popular music. And I had seen those. I think the first one I ever saw was the one you did of Marshmello. And I went down the rabbit hole. So when you had sent me that message, I was like, wait. First of all, I was starstruck. I was like, hold on. So I remember telling you, hey, Bob's Burgers is one of my favorite shows, which it is. I watch Bob's Burgers probably every other day. So you are a supervising director on the show.
I am.
You're also an immigrant.
Yes,
You're also queer.
Which is all those things.
Is all the intersections that we love here on the show.
A triple threat, if you will.
Tell me a little bit about, what got you into animation, what got you into, the craft, and how you came to be at Bob's Burgers and where you are now in your career.
This is a weird story, so I'll just go right back to the beginning and talk my way through it.
Right.
I've always been incredibly passionate about drawing. When I was a kid, my mum would tell me that when I was a child, I'd lie on my stomach and just draw The Simpsons all day. And I grew up in a very, very small town in North Wales, in the UK. Like less than 1,000 people lived there. Like it was very small on a mountain. So I was quite isolated from a lot of the world. But The Simpsons was on TV all the time. So I got obsessed with that and was like, this is what I wanted to learn how to draw these characters. And I always knew I wanted to do something in the arts. I just didn't know what, because I was a kid. I didn't know how any of that really applied. But when I was 10, I went to watch Toy Story in the cinema. And when I walked out of that film just like changed something in my brain. I was like, whatever that was that I just saw, that is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So from then on, it was me just constantly teaching myself animation, various software, and then my school that I went to at the time didn't do any kind of animation course. So once I finished high school, I went to university to do animation specifically, and spent 3 years there. The university I went to was one in the north of England called the University of Teesside, and anybody who asks me, I'll tell them never ever to go there. It was the worst university. I had a wonderful time there, met some great people, but 3 years of doing a 3D animation course, and then I moved to London afterwards to get a big job, and I realized they taught everything incorrectly. All the software that they had taught us was wrong. Everything was incorrect. And so I had to kind of, when I moved to London with big dreams of being a big animator, I was shot down a lot and laughed out of interviews because the software I was taught was all incorrect. So not to be dissuaded from still seeking a career in animation, I just started teaching myself the correct ways of animating and the correct software, like industry standard software is After Effects. I should have heard about that in university, but I didn't. So I started learning that. And then happened upon a job in London at a company called AMX. And they basically do like touch screens in fancy houses to like lower blinds and stuff. But for whatever reason, they had a side department that did specifically animations for TV screens in shops. And they used their own animation software, importantly. So no one knew how to use it unless you worked there. So I got hired and I started to learn this software. And then I worked there for 3 years and really enjoyed it. And me and my then boss realized if we left and started our own animation studio, these people have to come to us because we're the only people who know how to use the software. It's a very small studio, which I know sounds awful, but the people in charge were so supportive and they were like, obviously, yes, go do this. So we did. And then I started my company, Headspin Media, with a friend of mine. And for 8 years in London, I had my own. We worked on our own studio. I taught myself all the things I wanted to know about animation and learned the proper way to animate things. How I do that, I swear this story is going somewhere. How I do that is that I love to imitate. I learn through imitation and recreating. So I thought, well, what if I learn how to do the style of South Park? Because that's, relatively simple animation style. And I thought, well, if I can figure out how they create it, I'll learn a thing or two. So the creators of South Park also made this musical called The Book of Mormon. And the first song in that show is called Hello. And I was like, well, what if I animated a little video to that in the style of South Park? So spent a week animating that. I drew up all the assets of the characters myself in Photoshop. Backgrounds I took from the video game The Stick of Truth because they had 1080p
that was
backgrounds.
Your video?
Yeah.
So
have you seen that?
Full disclosure, I'm a huge theater kid.
Oh!
Musicals are my second love after
Yay!
I have seen that video, and I did not realize that was you.
That was me!
Great. So that's great.
So I put that online, and then it went pretty viral, and it spurred me on. I was like, oh, these are quite fun. I like trying to figure out this stuff. So then I was like, well, I'll move on to another one, and I'll try and do something that's a bit more complex and try and imitate the animation style of Bob's Burgers. Mixed with the TV show Archer, because I love both of those shows. And Bob and Archer are the same voice. So I animated the characters from Archer coming to Bob's Burgers using sound clips from both shows. It took me like 7 months to find dialogue where everyone sounded like they were talking to each other. I animated the intro initially and then moved on. It ended up being this 4.5 minute piece. And put it on YouTube and... in July 2017.
What I'm learning is I've seen all of your videos.
You've seen that too?
Yes.
How funny. So I uploaded that. 3 hours after I uploaded it, the people who work on Archer, they're in Atlanta, Georgia, they emailed me and said that they really loved it. And then 24 hours later, the creator of Bob's, Lauren Bouchard, tweeted me. And it was literally just a tweet and it said, do you want a job? And I was like, is this real? Is this a weird publicity stunt? Like, this is the weirdest thing. And he tweeted back saying, no, this is real. Let's do it. And then it went totally quiet for 2 weeks. No one was getting in touch with me. And I really thought it was a publicity stunt. But then the producer of the show, a lady called Janelle, she reached out. And 2 months later, I had sold everything I owned in London, but left my apartment, left my company. That's still going. And I left them. Moved in with my mum in Wales again. And then, 2 months later, I was living in LA working on Bob's Burgers.
Wow.
I had never made that animation to get a job. All I had done it for was to show that my company could do TV quality animation. And to get really specific, it was how to animate a head going from 3/4 to front and how the mouth would move. That's all I wanted to learn off the back of it. Yeah. But ended up now being a supervising director on Bob's Burgers.
It just goes to show that like half the time to get somewhere, it's not about, fighting for a job. It's do something you love to do. And
Right.
if the right people see it, that's all you need.
I mean, there's an enormous amount of luck that went with it. Like, I didn't know when I loaded the video that Comic-Con was happening in San Diego, because I wasn't aware. Well, I knew what Comic-Con was, but I wasn't tracking when it was. But Archer and Bob's, they were all together at Comic-Con, so they were all sharing it with each other and getting really excited about it. But obviously, yes, the practice and the talent it took me to get to that point to make it also is a huge factor. But
and your video well predates the Archer episode, the Bob's Burgers Archer episode.
It doesn't. It's the other way around. It is the other way around. Mine
really?
came
Okay.
after. Yeah, mine came after. But that did inspire me to do it. That is what inspired me to do it as well. But the
sort of see the reverse of what we saw in the episode.
Exactly. I want to see the reverse. But like, you know, what I hope that my story shows, because I found a letter when I was 16. Sorry. When I moved here, my mum had found a letter that I'd written when I was 16. We had to write it in school about what we wanted to do when we grew up. And it was literally stuff like, I want to move to America and work on a TV show. And I really hope I get to do it. And I did. Like, I genuinely never thought I would never, ever do it. But what I hope that my weird story kind of shows is that there's not just one way into this industry. Yes, there's traditional, go to college, do all that stuff. But like, I did not go the normal route at all. But having the passion for animation and the passion for this industry, honestly, that we have so many board artists on our show that got in because of pure passion, started low, worked their way up. And there's so many ways into this industry, not just the traditional route involving how expensive colleges are here, which is wild.
Bob's Burgers as a show, I mean, I think it resonates with so many people. There's this stigmatization around, maybe stigmatization is not the right word, but this idea when you look at like adult animation, you know, that these cartoons are supposed to be centered around families that are not dysfunctional, but loving, but like probably hate each other. I mean,
the nuclear family.
You watch shows like Family Guy, which is a show that I've, you know, been watching my entire life. And that show is mostly family that probably should not be together. And then you have shows like The Simpsons, which again, I've been watching The Simpsons that's been on since before I was born. But you know, a show where the dad will choke the son. And then you get to a show like Bob's Burgers, and I don't think, at least in adult animation, that I've had a show where even though the family, you know, is oftentimes struggling with money issues, they're oftentimes struggling with pressures from the outside and all these other things, that you can feel the love between all of the family, like so on the surface. Like, it's not something you have to go digging for. And I think a lot of people resonate with that, especially in times like we are today, where so much is happening. I mean, Bob's Burgers has been used as an escape for me, for a lot of people, as just something that we can watch and sort of get our mind off of things. But then we see how this show, because this is one of the reasons why I still watch it over everything else. Bob's Burgers, you know, you guys are so respectful of differing ideas, differing cultures. I mean, I'll be completely honest, the recent change that you guys did with Marshmallow, with the transgender character, I cried that episode. I was like, this is beautiful.
The one where she did the open mic night?
Yes.
I directed that episode.
That episode made me cry.
Yeah.
Legitimately. I was like, this is amazing. And so I just, you know, how does it feel, or do you guys ever feel pressure to not do those type of storylines? Like, is there ever this pressure of, no, you have to remain, you know, very cleanly in a nonpartisan way? Because some people would argue centering a trans character like that and being very, because like I said, even prior to Marshmallow, prior to the change in the voice of the character I felt had always been respectful. I mean, Bob has always seemed to be very, very, very
a little bit into Marshmallow.
Yeah. So like, have you ever felt like any external pressures to keep things more away from the, you know, the go woke, go broke crowd, things like that?
No, never. And like, you know, you brought The Simpsons, you brought Family Guy, and those shows obviously have their place, every right to exist. But the way we craft Bob's, it's a choice. Every day we go in there, we could absolutely write the show and be worried about what the outside will think. We could absolutely change the world and make everybody suddenly horribly racist and homophobic. But we don't want to do that. We want to make a show where you will sit down for 20 minutes and at the end of it come away feeling like you've had a nice hug. Like it's why I loved the show. I joined in season 8. The first episode I worked on was The Bleakening, which is a Christmas episode in season 8 where the characters all go to
one of my favorite episodes.
Rave.
Like legit.
Oh, that was
I love that. I love that. That's the one where with the performance at the end.
Yes.
I love that one. I love that one so much. I love every musical episode again.
When I very first moved here, I was a storyboard artist, so I was doing what's called retakes at the time, and that basically means once the episode has been animated, we do little rewrites and punch-ups on the episode, and as a result of that, there's holes in the animation where we need fresh animation. I would be filling those holes with new animation, and the first episode I worked on was that one. And I remember just like sitting down at my desk on my first day and watching the cut of that episode and being like, this is the gayest episode of TV, and I am thrilled that this is the first one I get to work on. Like, there's a literal gay rave and a drag queen performing at the end. I was so excited. And like we're aware of it. Like, we know what we're doing, and it's very intentional, and we're very proud what we put out. We're very, very happy that we get to craft this world that, honestly, it's a world that all of us want to live in. Like, wouldn't it just be nice to just live in a world where everyone is just so respectful and tolerant of each other? And the humor, very specifically as well, we make sure that the humor comes from the characters and not about like a completely wacky situation. It comes from the characters and it comes from their respect for each other. And even villains that we have on the show, we write them in a way where, like, they're bad because of other things, not because they are bad people. It's just that what they want in that moment is a bad thing. And we don't let it, like, recently, Ted Lasso. I've not been a big fan of Ted Lasso. I tried to watch it, but in the opening moments, there was like a huge homophobic joke to show that a guy was bad. And I was like, there's other ways to show that people can be bad. And that's how we kind of approach it.
And looking back, I mean, I really can't think of, off the top of my head, I can't think of any instances where Bob's Burgers has used, either racism, homophobia, transphobia as like the butt of the joke. And like I said, even going as far back as to when Bob first met Marshmallow and the other ladies driving the taxi.
Yes.
Like they made sure that the focus of the joke was not that these might be trans ladies, these might be whatever they were intended to be in that first episode, but they made sure that the joke was actually more that, like, Bob is just cool with it. Bob just doesn't care. He's like, whatever, who cares?
I'm glad you brought that example up, actually, because we did get a bit of heat early on for that episode. It was well before my time on the show, but the language Bob was using at the time was very outdated language when he was talking to these trans characters. But the creator of the show, the writers behind it, they did genuinely have every good intention. And they've all learned since, honestly, they are all the writers on the show are so conscious when they're writing things. And especially now, given, the popularity of the show recently still going up somehow. I think that's because of Disney Plus and, the global reach of it. Because when I lived in the UK, there was no real way to watch the show properly.
Yeah.
It was on some channels now and then, but now that it's more available everywhere, and as a result of that, we're more conscious of making sure that things are correct, but mostly that you just have a good time when you watch it.
One of the things that I also really love is the show's really good about reusing the extended cast of characters. Like, one of the things, you watch a Family Guy season, and there will be the bringbacks, but like you're mostly watching episodes centered around the family, whereas Bob's Burgers uses the family to also tell stories of the other characters. I mean, the things that have been going on with like Rudy in the last couple of seasons, the internet has loved and latched onto that in such a way that I think so many people can relate to, because these characters are like you said earlier, the drama, the comedy, everything in the show is extended from the characters and who we know the characters to be, not from, Bob bought a helicopter this week, let's see what happens with that.
Exactly right.
Bob is going to buy a hood for the stove, and that's where the comedy comes from. So things like that, I think, has also had it's led people to really love this show in particular. I know the movie got a lot of people. I know people who didn't watch the show prior to the movie. And
that is so interesting. I've always wanted. I'm yet to find someone who has been brought to the show through the movie to see what they thought of it outside of the experience of the show.
I know a few people, and I sit back and I wonder, how did you actually enjoy the movie? Because like the movie is uses so many characters, and it's like I don't know that if my first interaction of Fish Odor was the movie that I would understand this character at all. But they were like, I watched it. But like you said, they were like, well, the movie was on Hulu, and I didn't have time I didn't really want to start a commitment of watching a bunch of seasons. So I thought, let me just check the movie out. I think the movie does a good job of like setting up like what these characters go through, and it made them go. And then I started watching the show.
It was an interesting challenge. I mean, obviously I didn't write the movie, but I know that Lauren and Nora, who wrote the show, Nora's the showrunner, they were trying to write it in a way that was both accessible for people who hadn't seen it and obviously people who have, and that balance was so hard. Like, you didn't want Louise to just be there, be like, I'm the sassy one, at the beginning, so that we had to like ease into all of that. And I think the first song in the film, Sunny Side Up Summer, really does a great job of just setting everyone up on their goals immediately, so you're familiar with them all already. That movie was a lot of fun. Now I started working on that as well right after I moved to America, and I was working on that for 4 years.
I know it was in production for a long time, because I remember when they first announced the movie, they were doing a movie and it was a musical, and I was like, great, and then forgot about it for years, and eventually they were like, oh guys, you remember this thing? It's still coming. I was like, oh, okay, great. I forgot.
It was so weird. I know the pandemic slowed us down so many times, but I was so grateful for that movie, because during those early times in the pandemic when it was literally like I live on my own, so I couldn't go outside or do anything. I'd work on Bob's from 9 a.m. to 6 a.m. on TV show, and then I'd be on the movie from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., which I know just sounds like work all day, but I love drawing so much, and doing all of this, it was a welcome escape to just like dive into that world all day.
Yeah, I bet. Let me ask you, being somebody who's over here, seeing everything that's going on, all of the people you've met through Bob's, the stories that's told, how has that, obviously don't get as much or as little political as you want, but the current shape of the country here, how have all of these different intersections of your identity, how has it been seeing what's been going on, in the news, seeing what the current administration is doing, the way immigrants have been targeted, the way queer Americans have been targeted?
It's scary. It's really scary. I'm very glad that I live here. Everybody around me here does not approve of anything that's going on right now, particularly at work. So we are very conscious of all of that going in as well. But my actual, me personally, I'm surrounded by a really good group of people here. My best friend from the UK moved out here 6 months after I did. So we're both, and well, actually 2 of my friends did. So the 3 of us, we are all immigrants here still. We're currently on green cards. Hopefully one day we'll get our citizenship. But every day we're just waking up and reading all these things with immigrants, and it is a very scary. Also, we can't vote here, which is that's also interesting. It's very odd living somewhere. I still vote in the UK via mail, but I can't vote here. So it is also like I'm just sort of sitting and just watching everything happen, and there's just nothing I can really do about it. So putting out Bob's, getting to work on that, putting out positivity, that's great. Every year at Bob's as well, we do a pride line of merchandise, which started very organically because when I very first started on the show, I just drew a pride drawing of all the characters, and then that evolved into making T-shirts. And this company called Toddland, who does all of our merch, started doing pins and all sorts every Pride month to raise money for It Gets Better. So I can't directly help by voting and so on, but I try and do as much as I can for charity to help any way I can.
And it just must be so nice to work with a group of people that align so much with your ideas.
I don't know how I can't speak to everybody's political preferences at work, of course, but I don't know how you could work on our show if you didn't align with it. Like, why you would be telling the stories that we're telling if you didn't align would be crazy to me.
So what, looking forward to like the political landscape, like, we have 4 more years under this current, well, knock on wood, we have 4 more years of this current administration.
Yes.
Is there anything that you, as somebody who's queer, as somebody who's an immigrant, anything that you're kind of worried about, or anything that you view as a challenge going forward that you're like, how do we navigate this moving into 2026, 2027, 2028?
Yeah. I'm not married personally, but just seeing them trying to roll this back now in certain states, that makes me so sad to my core. I've got many gay friends here who are married, and I just hate that these people waste so much of their time thinking about these people they've never met, and everything that's going on with trans people right now as well. I feel absolutely awful for. I'm just so disheartened that again, how much time these people think about trans people playing sports. Like, holy Christ, there are more important things. All they want to do is exist, and it kills me that this country is going backwards so quickly.
Have you ever had anybody who, who's might have softened on some views via like possibly like via? Have you ever talked to anybody from like watching the show, like possibly maybe they've watched the episode with a character like Marshmallow and went, maybe my views have softened on this a bit?
Personally, and actually, no, I haven't, because most of the people that I will meet, it's very tricky. So I don't know if this doesn't sound vain or I don't know, but when people interact with me about Bob's Burgers, like my backpack, for example, has so many pins on Bob's Burgers because I've drawn so many of them, and they keep giving them to me. So I'm like, I'll put them on my backpack, and someone might stop me in the street and be like, "Oh, I love your pins. I love that show." I never feel comfortable enough to say, "Oh, well, I work on it," because suddenly that interaction turns from being like, "Oh, this is a genuine compliment about this show that I like," to, "Oh God, you work on it? Now what do I do?" So
I was so scared when I told you, when you were like, when you messaged me, I was like, should I tell him that I love the show he works on? Will it feel weird to tell him that I love the show? I was like, I'm just going to tell him. I usually
it was a different introduction, that one, because also you could click on my profile and learn that information yourself, But in the street, in real life, like it's kind of different. So I haven't met people who, when I say that I work on the show or talk about that, they aren't like, "Oh my God, I love that show." So not to say that everybody loves Bob's Burgers, but I guess I haven't
I've not met the haters. I don't know where they are. The only thing.
No, they're on there. My goodness.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm sure
any of my posts on Instagram and you will find them.
Some of my favorite, compilations are watching the Bob's Burgers crash outs. Watching, especially early season, because it happened a lot more early on, but just watching the characters devolve into yelling about nothing at the top of their lungs might be some of the best TV.
I can say we brought some of that back, because we've all missed, I think, Bob getting incredibly angry at stuff sometimes, because it's so funny, because it's always just like something that does not matter at all.
Yeah. It's never anything important.
Episodes. No, we've got a couple of episodes coming up where that happens again, and it's wonderful. It's so stupid.
How hard is it to sit on, like, let's say you talk to somebody, to sit on information that you like, I know what's coming up here and I can't say anything. Do you ever have to sit on your hands like, "Oh, I want to tell you, but I can't"?
All the time. All the time. I am terrible with it. I mean, I'm saying I'm terrible with it. I'm actually really good. I have not, the whole time we were working on the movie, I was just like, I know exactly what the movie's about, and I can't talk about it with anybody. But working on it, I mean, there's, I think, 200 people in our office. I can talk about it with them all day long, and then that I can get out of my system there.
Yeah.
When I come home, if I talk to my boyfriend about it, I mean, I guess I will tell him stuff, but I generally am pretty good with upholding my NDA that I signed, so I don't get deported.
Do you ever speaking of that, like how is it felt? I mean, right now we're seeing them pushing very hard, obviously, for people being deported back over the southern border. We're seeing all this big push, but we've started to see these pop-ups of children who are getting deported who are U.S. citizens. We're seeing people who have green cards be taken and told that their green cards are going to be taken away with no formal charges levied. Obviously,
that's scary.
We can recognize, bits of privilege between different immigrant groups and everything, but
Definitely.
like, do you feel that kinship with other people who might have immigrated to the country and seeing what they're going through?
Well, LA. So I lived in London for 11 years before I moved here, and London and LA are very similar in that everyone's a transplant. No, like it's very rare to meet somebody in London or LA who's actually from LA. More often than not, obviously, yes, it's just people from other parts of America that have moved here. But no, I do feel a kinship with immigrants because it's very. I mean, the way that I came here, obviously, was for this job and in very different circumstances, obviously, to the way a lot of people come here. But I'm moving here because it felt like it was the right thing to do for me to make my life better and to improve everything. And I genuinely feel for people who come here to do that. And then not immediately, like you're saying, I was reading recently that someone who was like moved here when they were 8 months old has just been sent away. Mm-hmm. And like, how is that in any way the correct thing to do? It's insane. Yeah. I very much feel like.
Do you guys ever ask yourselves if you might feel some sort of obligation? Not saying that you're going to put out anything like this, but any obligation that you're like, hey, we really need to probably take a harder stance and tackle some of these issues a little more. I mean, that's, like I said, a lot of people felt that way with the marshmallow episode that we talked about earlier. Do you ever feel like, hey, maybe we need to touch on some of these other things because, I think people seeing themselves through the lens of media, seeing the real stories, that has a real impact on how they feel. It has an impact on people who may be of differing opinions. So does that ever cross the mind of it?
So I say I don't write on the show, so that side of things very much depends on the writers. But it is in their mind. I will try and put things forwards visually in the show that will help people. There's an episode recently, I think it was last season, where Bob goes to try and find his mother's grave. And he doesn't know where it is.
Another episode that made me cry.
Yeah. Well,
the show makes me cry a lot.
Okay, a quick side thing. The creator of the show, Lauren, he recently said to me that he has found out that he enjoys making people cry more than laugh. Because it's pretty easy to make people laugh. It's hard to make people cry.
This is apparent because you guys have ramped up the amount of emotional episodes. I feel like I now see way more. Like it used to be once every maybe once a season, every couple of seasons. Now I'm like every third episode is, here's Luis and Tina going through a really traumatic sister thing, and we're gonna have them reconcile in some beautiful animated way. And I'm like, great.
That was such a fun episode. I loved that one. It's a fun challenge. Like tapping into humor, tapping into fear, tapping into anger. They're pretty easy things to tap into, but like raw emotion, making a tear fall down your face, that's hard. That's really hard to do, and it's a great challenge. But going back to that episode with Bob and his mother's grave, there's a lady who works in the office that they first go to, and I put a sunflower on her chest because sunflowers are a symbol of invisible disabilities, and so I wanted to put that on there to just represent that in the show and see if anyone picked up on it, and so many people did. I try on my side in the drawing and the picture side to inject as much as I can.
And how much?
And they're always okay with it too, I should say. It's never a fight. It's never.
That's what I was going to ask: is how much freedom you have to do things like that.
If it's not sacrificing a joke, then they're fine. They're fine with it. Obviously, we want to make sure that jokes come through and that they are intact. And that's the most important thing. But that doesn't mean at all that putting a sunflower on someone's chest is going to detract away from how funny they may be.
Yeah.
They're all very, very okay with putting stuff like that in.
And you know, so many fans will obviously latch on to different things in the show. I mean, I think I've seen every character every character has someone said, oh, this character is secretly coded to be this way, or this character is secretly coded to be that way. Do you guys ever obligation isn't the right word, but do you ever feel a sense of almost duty in how the fans connect with characters, especially in the animation side, right? Like, especially knowing that you are going to have a hand in how these people look. Like when we see somebody that's new, like, do you ever feel this sense of duty when you're designing new characters or creating these things, like how authentic to be with that?
Yes, we are. Every new character that you see on the screen has gone through a lengthy process. It's never the first thing we draw. Like recently we had an episode where Louise was doing shadow puppets. And I'm
not going to say it made me cry, but definitely made me cry.
We introduced a proper character who was in a wheelchair in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
And we went through so many designs and making sure that his chair was just right and just making sure that he felt authentic to people who would watch it and want to see themselves in that. Same with Marshmallow. Actually, on that episode with Marshmallow, like she has so many fun outfits in that episode, and the amount of outfits that we were going through till we found ones that felt represented her correctly. We go back and forth a lot, and it doesn't stop like just at the early stages either. Like we'll get stuff back in color and be like, that color's not quite right. We'll tweak this outfit. It's everything all comes together to make sure they feel right.
I want to go back to that Marshmallow episode because I think that episode to me genuinely, I think is the epitome of if there happened to be a mission statement around not just your show, but just around media in general and representation. I think I don't know that I've seen something handle representation in that way. Obviously, I'm not a trans person, but I can speak to what like my trans friends have said and what I saw the response was online. You know, so many people just so grateful, not only that the creative decision from people on the show to allow Marshmallow this new voice over artists to use their regular voice, not to try to match what Marshmallow's voice had been previously. I remember watching the episode. In my initial response, I guess because of how conditioned I am through trans media representation, was to think, oh, Marshmallow's parents are going to be not in her side, and that's why she's doing this. And then to see at the end that they were actually very, very supportive of their daughter, and just, you know, can you talk a little bit about at least from the creative side, both animation and otherwise, like the conversations around changing the character, around doing the representation this way?
Finding Marshmallow's new voice took a long time. We wanted to do it right. I think it honestly took nearly 5 years. I can't recall exactly how long it took, but when Yari Jones auditioned for it, I heard her audition for it, and we were just like, there she is. That's Marshmallow completely. And she had input on it, on like she didn't want her voice lowered. Like she wanted to portray this character accurately, and obviously we're not going to be like, no, we want this to feel like this. You own this. And with her parents, the song that she sings as well, I can't recall what the original song was, but it wasn't that song. Because when we were watching cuts of the episode, we had this other song for it, but we were just like, this just doesn't feel right. Like, even with that, we were like, we have to find a song that really conveys how hopeful and happy Marshmallow feels. And then, when her parents came in, obviously we were like, yes, they have to be supportive. Like, it's like, but these are all things that we do think of, and we're like, yes, that's the right choice to make, is to make their parents supportive, because why shouldn't they be? It was when I read the script for that episode, that I was thrilled that I got to direct that one, because I don't often direct episodes anymore because I'm supervising director. When I was episodic director, I would do more, but because of the way that the writer's strike and the actor's strikes all lined up a couple of years ago, I ended up directing that one, and I was so happy. Though I will tell you, keeping track of every person in that restaurant for a whole episode was a nightmare.
Yeah, because there's a lot of characters in that one.
Yes,
there's something to be said, like you said, with obviously make your parents supportive. It's just so interesting how like our default, especially around trans storylines, is always the storyline has to be focused on them trying to get acceptance. And that really wasn't the case in this one. It was like Marshmallow was already accepted by Bob and Bob's family. Marshmallow was already accepted by her parents. It was so, I guess, a relief, and then also made me go, there seems to be some bias that even I hold, where the minute I see a trans character on TV, they have to be moving the movement in some way. It has to be so like it was just really nice to see a storyline that was just like, here's this character's happy, this character's going to and be authentically them and have the emotion just come from the authenticity.
Right. And that's how we treat everyone. Every character on the show has that same. Because, like, I've been asked many times over the years, is Gene gay? Is he ever going to come out? And, the way I see it personally, just as someone who grew up gay, Gene is, he is 11 years old. I didn't know I was gay at 11 years old. I know that this kid isn't real. I know Gene is not a real person, and we could be like, of course he's gay. But should that ever happen? Should that storyline ever happen? I want it to come organically, not from just somebody online going, oh yeah, by the way, he was gay all along. That's just like bloody J.K. Rowling and Dumbledore. Guys, he was gay.
He was gay all along, and I was also transphobic
all along. And if you missed it, that's your fault. Right. No, if Gene should ever come out, then I want that to happen organically and genuinely for him. And there'll be absolutely no question, of course, that his family would support him if he did. But and same with Bob. Like, there is episodes where Bob is very openly.
Bob very much has a little. He's definitely got some bi tendencies.
Absolutely
noticed that 100%.
Like, I fully believe it. I think of him as bisexual personally. I know he's of course he's been married to Linda for years and they have kids, but it doesn't stop someone being bisexual. So to me, Bob is bisexual, and it's always a little joy when we get to throw little jokes in that like allude to that a little bit more.
Yeah,
because that's one of the funny things that come up on my comments when I post anything remotely queer with a show. People are like, how dare you post this show? I'm never watching the show again. It's like, were you watching it at all?
Yeah. Did you watch? You don't remember the episode long flirtation with the turkey guy years ago? Like, this isn't new.
It's not at all.
I think it's just the backlash. I mean, so often, like I said earlier, the verbiage "go woke, go broke" is so prevalent, even though half the things that make money are the woke things, right?
Barbie.
I don't understand it, and it's frustrating. Oftentimes, I equate it to just the lack of media literacy that seems to exist heavily on the right. And we'll get more into how like your takes on everything. Honestly, I'd love only say what you can say. I don't want you to say anything that can, you are a much bigger public figure than I. But like, it's watching the country go to this side where they're like, well, everything we want only media that shows straight white families. We don't want any diversification. We don't want any characters who are black or queer or immigrants. We don't want, it's just like, how do you expect to tell relevant stories? How do you expect to you think we can all relate to the Full Houses and the
right?
What do you want us to do?
I know, I fully know what you mean. I mean, the shows that have broken through, that do have those messages, like Schitt's Creek, like that kind, like the show like that, or even like Will and Grace from years ago. I really feel like maybe I'm just just romanticizing the time of when I was watching them too much. I don't know, but I really felt like they were getting queer storylines out there to households that may not have heard it before. But they've obviously now ended since then, and now under this administration, I'm struggling to think of a single show that's really doing that on primetime TV,
and one that is like that has that popularity, especially
one that has that, exactly like animation. I feel like sometimes with animation you can, I think, get away with it. Makes it sound like I'm cheapening the whole medium, but you can be cheekier with animation and try and slip those messages in more. Like Solar Opposites, for example. I don't know if you watch Solar Opposites, but that show I think is just so funny and it makes me giggle so much. But ultimately, like most of the time, those two main characters in that show are very gay. Like,
they are. Like some of the episodes are just about them having marital spats.
Right. So like I'm like, you're able to sneak this in here. And maybe because it's animation and because they're aliens, like it washes over people's heads. I don't know. But I'm glad that's why they're at least humans in Bob. So if we do tackle these things, they're relatable in that sense. And I would love to one day have a show that just is the gayest thing on earth, and see if we can change anyone's minds and hearts who would be open to it.
Getting into the meat and potatoes of everything going on in the world and all its glory. You talked a little bit earlier about how it feels to like be on the sideline, watching sort of American politics because, you're as an immigrant, you don't have the ability to vote, at least federally. Are you in an area where you're able to vote locally?
I haven't. No, I don't actually know if I can, and I should really check that out. Honestly, my knowledge of the immigration process here, I know where I'm at right now, but I have not ventured into whether or not I can actually vote anywhere.
Yeah, there are some places in the country that I know that you can vote locally,
really?
But then there are other provinces. There are other municipalities where they won't let you. So it's very different. It's different per like every town is different, every state is different.
Wow,
so,
I had
good
no
old US
idea.
of A. Yeah.
Well, I hope it is here. That I will be checking that out as well as soon as I'm done with this call.
Sure. Disclaimer. My producers want me to do a disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Obviously, if you are interested in voting and you don't live in the country, and you are an immigrant in the country, look to see what the rules are in your town, city, state, village, wherever you live. Obviously, there are a lot of people who are like, we don't need to make everything political. Not everything has to be about politics. Somebody who, it is my job to be entrenched in politics and entrenched in social issues. I don't know how you separate them. I don't know how we talk to the people around us without that underpinning of, are you voting for my rights or are you voting against my rights?
How I got in touch with you, obviously, was, so I was in Thailand on vacation recently and I was doom scrolling through Instagram. Just every video was like, it was either somebody boasting about how Trump won, or it was somebody who's now being completely screwed over because they voted for Trump and now are maybe like their farms are going out of business or what have you. Then your video came up on one of the scrolls and you were just tearing this guy apart. And I was just like, this is what I like. This is the content I like. And I just started scrolling through all of your videos, and that's why I reached out to you. I was like, you gave me like for the first time since he took office, you gave me like this hope of like, there are people out there genuinely fighting for this, fighting the good fight. And it for the first time gave me just hope again. So that's why I felt so compelled to reach out to you to say, thank you. Cause, I struggle to be here as an immigrant. I'm always unsure what to say, what to do, like to not upset people, and to seeing your videos really empowered me.
Yeah, it's, I always walk this weird line when I'm posting on Instagram. When I'm looking at my videos, I'm like, okay, am I going to post something that's like super educational? Is it just going to be me talking to somebody? And then it hits a point where sometimes I'm like, you know what? I just want to kind of say fuck them. I don't know if I'm going to bleep that out or not, but like, I can't continuously try to teach this MAGA side of America when at the end of the day, they don't care. And they make it
Right,
very
that's what I
clear
get.
that they don't care. They don't care about an education. They don't care about what's right. They don't care about what's factually correct. So I was just like, you know what? If you don't care, I don't care. I'm just gonna call you how I see you. You guys are bad people, and move on.
And that's what I loved watching about them so much. Was just you have no fear when you're talking to people who were just so confrontational with you, and it made me just like, yes, I'm all excited.
Well, I think so many people feel this, but they can't. They're not in a place like I can recognize my privilege in that I'm pretty financially secure, and I'm. It's not like I'm going to get fired from my job because I'm the boss. So I can say what I want, and then a lot of people can't do that. They have to hold their tongue. I mean, I feel for all of the trans kids who have to serve the bigots and Trump's hats at their jobs every day.
Yeah.
I feel for all of the immigrants who are working at the houses of people who are voting to get them kicked out of the country. It's such a strange mix of things with how just this group is kind of trying to co-opt. I mean, we call it an oligarchy, we call it fascism, we call it whatever it is, but they're trying to just control like every aspect of their life, of others' lives, of the narrative of social justice stuff. It's why I think so many people latch on to you guys' show, to something like Bob's Burgers. They latch on to this thing that, like, honestly, when you watch it, feels like we are still living in a Biden era presidency. We're still living in a Obama era presidency, right? You're still living under that administration that's not targeting these minority and oppressed groups.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's something that we are intentionally trying to put out there. It's all by choice. A tweet that I keep saying tweet. I mean Blue Sky. I'm not on Twitter anymore, but I don't know what the word is for posts on Blue Sky.
Wait, we can come up with something clever right here, right now. Not a bluey, not a sky.
That sounds like it would be porn of some kind.
I just did a bluey, guys. A skyrite? Skyrite's not bad.
A skyrite.
Steve, a skyrite is pretty good.
Skyrite.
But it's so long. Tweet was good because it's like a verb, right? It's just tweet. How do you have, not to get too far away from it, but how do you have a company with that much branding power? Do you know what companies kill to have the name? Because even if you're just on Facebook, people still called it tweeting. Like, do you know, to have the branding power of that and go, I'm going to change it, is
insane.
It's the most insane thing ever. But anyway,
it was on whatever the word was. We're going to call it skyrite. So I saw a skyrite on Blue Sky, and I'm going to butcher the wording for this, but it was essentially like, it's wild to see the right white people experiencing a tiny bit of equality and thinking it's oppression. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just crazy to me that people would look at stuff like this and go that way.
I know you're in a really, obviously California is just a really progressive state to begin with. Good old California. Have you ever though in any of this time thought, you know what, maybe I need to go back? Like, have you ever thought I need to get out of the US?
No, I haven't yet. Sorry, I guess, yes, I have. I've thought about it. I don't know what has to happen for me to throw in the towel and be like, I'm going to go home. Because ultimately I feel like, I've been in the country for 7.5 years now. And I feel like if I just went home this close to getting my citizenship, it would have all been for nothing. Yeah. I'd like to be here and at least continue putting out the stuff I put out for as long as I can before, like, if it gets to the point where I leave the house and I'm, almost murdered for being gay, sure, maybe then I'll consider. Maybe I'll go home then. But until it gets, to a point where I really can't stand it anymore, because it's so funny. Like when I was living in the UK, and Trump was first brought into the office, we'd also just done Brexit. So I'm just like, oh God, we're all just making the worst choices right now. And it's so easy when you don't live in America to be like, oh, what's America doing? You know, you just paint the whole country with one brush. And since I've lived here, obviously it's not like that. Obviously, you know, just look at the results of how the election came in. It's not the whole country that wants this, but it's and I get sad now when I see people from the UK or other countries just painting the whole country with one brush. I just want to be like, no.
For those listening, I'm going to butcher the numbers, but I think it's between 22 and 28% of the country voted for Donald Trump. The large portion of people just didn't vote. Of voting age citizens, the large portion of people just didn't vote in this election, which is kind of crazy. But, you know, I think you have a lot of people now who are just disenfranchised and also disenchanted with voting. They're just like, nothing changes. We had Trump, Biden, Trump again. Everything seems, the status quo seems to remain as strict as possible. And so people are just getting so fed up with the system. Yeah. I'm not necessarily sure how to correct issues like this. But I think that's a big part of it. Because, you know, it's true. The vast majority of people didn't vote for Donald Trump.
Right.
And he is not indicative of America. He's indicative of the vocal minority.
Right. The word vocal is certainly the key word there. Because, they are so vocal. And
it's so tough, too, because they're trying to get their hands on everything. Listen, like you said you see it in your comments. If these people could, they would change Bob's Burgers. They would rewrite the whole show if they could. Bob would now be mean to Linda all the time. He would be sitting at home drunk while she watches the kids. It would become actually. Have you seen those like conservative adult animated shows? Have you ever taken a foray into them? I watched the one.
I have watched the one that Twitter put out, and I made it through, I think, maybe 2 minutes. I can't do it.
It's so interesting. I don't ever want to disparage artists, but like, first of all, the animation difference between, you know, what we get with like you guys versus what all of these shows look the same. All of these conservative animated shows look identical. It's kind of
it's Flash. It's like they can still just about manage Flash animation. Yeah.
Then there's the conservative Bluey knockoff that was it Daily Wire, I think, made Ben Shapiro's.
I didn't see that one.
They made a conservative version of Bluey, basically, which is as terrible as it sounds.
Was it called Ready?
No, I think they were. Let me see if I could find it. I think they were a completely different animal. But when you look at it, it's like you're just trying to do Bluey.
But conservative. Oh.
It's a chinchilla. It's called Chipchilla. And it's basically conservative Bluey. Which is do you ever, you know, when you see stuff like this, how did like, do you ever get like this guttural reaction? Like this is the art that I love being used to tell these.
I do. And I'm not going to sit and, you know, assume that the people are working on that against their will. I mean, people probably did want to make that and draw on it. But what upsets me the most is the time that took. Like, you know, this isn't someone who's just like on TikTok and filming themselves having a rant and then posting it all in the space of 20 seconds. Like an episode of Bob's Burgers takes 9 months per episode from start to finish. And they're not obviously making as long an animation or as often as we're making ours. But a group of people spent months of their lives making that. That's what upsets me. You know, you have... And again, all again because of the choices of it all. Like you look at Arcane on Netflix, and that show takes 5 years to make, and every frame is stunning, and the story is wonderful. And then you get what's it called, Chinchilla? You said it's called Chipchilla, and then you get that. It's like sad.
You know, you mentioned Flash. I will say, I often will go back, and I don't know how you know Bob's Burgers is made, but sometimes I miss how it like that first season animation, just like the stiffness of the first season. Sometimes I miss that because it really does add to the humor of the show.
I know. When you look at season 1 and 2, they were animated. I believe it was before my time on the show, but I believe a totally different studio. Bento Box, who I work for, still made the storyboards and everything. But the actual studio was different. Now we have a studio in South Korea. They're called Yason, and they've been doing it ever since season 3, I believe. But yeah, those first 2 seasons, wild to look at them and how different the show is, and the tone as well. Like, whenever I introduce people to Bob's, I tell them to start at season 3 because I think it's where the show really found its footing in terms of the tone, and then go back to season 1 and 2.
That means they're going to miss. Which arguably, I hate that the best joke in the show, in my opinion, I do think the best Bob's Burgers joke is in the very first episode. And I genuinely think it's when they say Tina's autistic and they throw the toothpicks on the ground.
Yeah.
I don't think anything has made me laugh as hard as her going, like picking some large number and there's just 3 toothpicks there.
The writers on Bob's are so funny, and most of them are still there from day 1 too. Yeah, we've got some joint over the years.
That's rare, right? To have writers stick around for that long, because that's rare. The show's in which it's season.
We are currently airing 15. Season 15. Yeah,
you forget how long Bob's Burgers has been on the air. Honestly,
you do forget. And it's all blended together in my head. I'm very aware when I started on the show, but sometimes I'll look at episodes and be like, "Wait, did I work on that one? No, I didn't work on that one." Like it's wild, but yeah, very rare. Most of our writers have been there since day 1, and you can also you can kind of see through the show. You can sort of start to see when everybody started having kids, because that's when a lot of poop and vomit jokes start coming into the show. So that's all from them having kids.
So what you're saying is liberal media really is just toilet humor. That's what we're
works for me.
Do you think, obviously, being a part of the queer community, that your identity shaped well before Bob's, but has there been significance in Bob's Burgers and shaping your identity as a queer person, as an immigrant? Has there been anything significant there?
For sure. So it's funny, when I first watched Bob's, I actually did not care for it. When it first started airing, I missed the first episode. I think I joined somewhere early season 2, and it just didn't click with me. And then it got 4 or 5 seasons in, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a second chance. And then from episode 1 again, something was different. I just loved it.
You saw the autism joke. That's what happened.
Saw the autism joke. I was missing that one. That's what got me. But no, just seeing, I knew the show was special. I knew it was. It's so funny. Season 7, they put out a call for people to submit their own drawings of the characters, and we did a fan art episode where it was all based on different fan art. And I was in the UK at the time, and I remember seeing the call for it, but you had to live in America, and I was like, damn it, I can't apply for this. I can't get my work on the show. Obviously, it all worked out, and I'm here. But I knew at that point that the show meant so much to me that I really wanted to submit something to help the show, because I'd just seen a level, like you were saying earlier, a level of representation and acceptance in an animated show that was not there in other shows, and I just resonated with it so much, and I knew that it was important. The only other show that's done that to me, weirdly, is the show Scrubs, which when I watch back on Scrubs, some of that has aged quite terribly.
I did a rewatch of Scrubs recently, and there were quite a few jokes where I would go, that is a not early 2000s joke. That is not a 2020 joke.
But what I liked so much about that show was that everybody was incredibly quirky and had their weird takes and quirks and what have you, but everybody was still accepted for who they were. And what I said is that these shows, of what I gravitate towards in media generally, is a show where everyone's accepting and loving. And it could be boring that I'm not going out there and searching for stuff where it's just completely out there and wild, but I enjoy feeling happy and safe. So I will always gravitate to shows like that. And Bob's was certainly one for me.
And what made you start doing the dance videos? Because those have blown up. Those have TikTok loves those videos.
It's so odd. I'm not posting them on TikTok. Someone else is. Someone made a whole account called...
Is that why every time I see one on TikTok, it's thanking you in like the comments?
I've now posted them on my own on there. But there's a thing called Bob's Burgers Dance Talk. And it's not me, but someone just keeps taking my videos and posting them. And I don't mind it. I really genuinely don't mind it. But the thing that frustrated me recently was I did the Lady Gaga Rudy Abracadabra dance. Mm-hmm. And she reposted it from that account. Mm-hmm. Not mine. But it's fine. It's fine. I love Lady Gaga. But the whole reason I started doing those, like I was saying earlier, I like to learn by imitation. And one of our other supervising directors on the show, a guy called Bernard Derriman, he's Australian, also an immigrant. He directed the movie, actually. He's been on the show since day one. He is just an incredible animator. He can draw 3 lines, and it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And he's very good at dancing. I don't know if you remember at the end of the Bob's movie, in the credits, everyone's doing like little dances.
Yep.
He drew all of those. And when I was watching him doing it, I was like, I want to learn how to animate dance. Like it's, I have no rhythm. I can't dance at all. But watching dancing in animation, there's just something about it that lets you just feel something. Like it just clicks in your brain as something that's just really enjoyable to watch because it's just so fluid and nice. So I wanted to learn how to do it. So I started doing those. It was purely just so I could be like, I can animate dancing too, Bernard. And then when I started uploading them and people started to really like them, it was I just kept doing them. And I really love doing them. I love doing them. They're just so fun.
Yeah, and I think people love... Movement. I think a lot of people just love the way Bob's Burgers characters move. There's like something unique in the way that you guys animate character movement.
Interesting, yes.
Especially when you have something that, you know, you get a bit more frames to work with. Like the movie. It's so fun watching the movie because, you know, you get a little extra leeway in budget, obviously.
Yeah,
so like
the elevation
the way the characters in that show move is so... And, you know, I think a lot of us got so used to, you know, Family Guy, that style of animation where the characters don't tend to move a lot.
Right.
So seeing Bob's Burgers characters move, especially in those dance videos, I think people have just latched on. I think they're so fun.
It's fascinating you say that as well, because there's so many rules on Bob's Burgers that I didn't know when I first started. Like when I watched the animation that I made now, the crossover, oh my God, I got so much wrong. I didn't know, and I was just doing to the best of my ability. But like, for example, on Bob's, now anyway, not so much in earlier seasons, no one smiles. We never smile in the show because we have the creator show has a firm belief, and I agree with him. If a character is delivering a joke and they're smiling, you subconsciously know that they're telling a joke, so it's less funny. So we take out smiles. People rarely touch each other. Bob, it's a lot of eye acting and eyebrow stuff. Mostly, a character will remain quite still for a lot, but the goal is that you don't notice that, and then that it just washes over you, and you're just like,
I'm now going to notice it in every episode.
I know. If you see a character smiling in recent episodes, just know there was a conversation about whether or not they smiled in that moment. Because we have to be hypercritical. I would never in a million years describe myself as an actor. It's not something I ever want to do. I'm very happy behind the camera doing the animation. But we do have to, as storyboard artists and illustrators, we have to embody these characters and make them move and act. And so I am an actor in that sense. And it's really important to get all those nuances right so that when you're watching it, you don't feel like something's out of place or weird, or like, why did Linda suddenly do that weird move? Every action is monitored. And
you know, I get it. I mean, there's so many things that people don't, you know, we know that shows have like show Bibles that like tell you the rules of character thing. And I don't think people realize that how much of that goes into animation as well, because shows aren't just made by one person. So you have you have a whole team that needs to follow those rules.
Right. And it's only when it really elevates it to a level of something you've never seen before do people really sit up and be like, oh my God, that was some cool animation, like Spider-Man, Spider-Verse stuff. Like the level of animation in that, even your standard person who wouldn't really clock different animation are aware that is like next level. But that's what's so fun about the medium. Like animation can be literally anything. So when it chooses to be Chip Chiller, What are we doing? You know?
But I think it's a testament, like Bob's Burgers is one of those shows that, and I haven't felt this way since a show like Futurama, where there's so many background gags. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have burgers of the day in every episode that are different, and like half the time they're not even talked about. It's just background gags. The business shop in the opening being different every episode, like those background gags, like so it really must, like, when that happens, who gets to decide what the joke is there?
They're quite collaborative. Like the Rat Van, the Burger of the Days, and the Store Next Door. The writers, they sit in the writing room and they will just, like machines, throw out so many, and it's hilarious to listen to. Like they I don't know how they do it. It's just a skill that I do not have to come up with stuff like that on the fly. But when we're designing the episodes, there's one I directed a couple of years ago where the kids everybody goes to a flea market and they find the giant stuffed mammoth, woolly mammoth thing. And Bob finds this mammoth at a store that sells movie posters. And none of that was really in the script. They knew it was like a movie poster stand, but they didn't have anything beyond that. So we designed all these squares of where posters would be. And then through a very collaborative effort with the writers suggesting names and us designing what that poster might look like, we come up with these random background gags. And there's just so many that just, like, they make absolutely no sense, but they just make us laugh. Like in that episode particular, like there's one movie in the background that's called My Mustache Summer. And it's like, what even is that? It's ridiculous. And in the poster is just some woman, like, she's got a big mustache on. And there's another one where it's like, here we go again, here we go again. Like, none of it comes to anything, but they make me giggle so much. So
I think that's, one of the tests. I keep saying we're going to talk more political, but we just keep going back to the show, which is totally fine.
Sorry.
I love no, it's not you. I love the show so much. Yay. But I think it is like I said, it's one of those things where, like, since Futurama, I haven't felt like shows have like put in that effort as much anymore to make sure, because you could have easily just said, like, made the posters random paintings,
boring posters.
You could have easily done that, but to go the extra step and put in that extra effort to actually make them, interesting and funny and something that, like, somebody may be like, what was that? And now rewind so that they can catch all the jokes. And it's, I mean, we have entire cookbooks now of, like,
we do,
like Bob's the burger of the day. I've not made any of them. I have the cookbook. My new kitchen. That's what I'm
going to do. It.
Yeah,
do it.
I have my new kitchen has a great stove. Like, it's one of those like high, like really good convection stoves. I think I'm going to make the Bob's burgers.
Do make. I've only ever made one, and it was the baby you can chive my car burger. It's got like little fried pickle wheels, and I made that one just because it looked like the most fun one to make for the book, and it was pretty good as well. It was actually good because that cookbook is so funny because a chef came up with all the recipes for it, but literally we just gave him. I mean, this was before my time on the show as well, but we just gave him the burger titles and, like, what would you come up with, and it's actually kind of amazing that how weird some of those titles are, that he actually managed to make, like, an edible burger out of it. Because we're not
funny to see recipes go the other way. Come up with the name first, but now your job is to figure out how this makes any sense on a burger.
Yeah, and what's funny as well is a lot of the time, because, like I said, I'm British. There's a lot of references from people growing up in America that I don't know or do not get, and there's so many jokes that I don't understand on those burgers of the day that everyone will laugh at, and I'll just sit there quietly, not really get it, and then someone will have to explain it to me. But it's wild that we managed to make a whole cookbook out of that.
I mean, it's so funny. It's just, it really is a testament to how, like, because I remember when the show first came out, and you can actually see it's funny that you can see the trajectory of how popular and how good Bob's Burgers is looking at other shows. Like because I'll rewatch shows all the time. So I was like, okay, I'm going to rewatch Family Guy from like the older seasons upwards, because I'm like, I used to love the show. And you can actually see in Family Guy when Bob's Burgers first came on the air, and they were making fun of Bob's Burgers as being like the new guy, the not as funny guy. And then you can see the turn where it's Bob's Burgers is winning all the Emmys, and now they're jealous of the Bob's. So it's funny, you can track the show's progress through other things.
Yes.
And see how popular the show has gotten.
I completely agree. It's so weird when that happens. When I see Bob's appear on Family Guy and I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, they look so weird. They've drawn them weird. Like I have this itch in me that I can't scratch. And it happened recently on The Simpsons as well. They had like this whole Westworld Treehouse of Horror situation where Homer left the Simpsons world and goes into Bob's world. And Linda was there, and they animated Linda weird. But it was so
they don't reach out to you guys for...
They do. That's the funny thing. They do. But I guess they want to slightly alter the characters so they do fit in their world.
Fit a little bit.
But like, for example, on that recent one, the Westworld one, we drew the burger of the day in the background for that. And actually, one of the very first things I got to do when I first moved here, The Simpsons did a couch gag with Bob's Burgers where Homer ends up in the restaurant. And it's... The gag is basically, it's our intro for our show where all the buildings appear, but from the perspective of Homer inside the restaurant. So like Jimmy Pesto's appears, things like the phone line breaks the window and what have you. And that was a moment where I was like, wow, the Simpsons are doing a Bob's Burgers gag, and I'm getting to draw it.
Yeah.
They gave me
that must have really felt like a full circle moment for you.
They handed me the Homer Simpson's turnaround like drawing model sheet, but I already know how to draw Homer because I've been drawing Homer my whole life. So yeah, when I got to do that, that was a wild moment. Wow.
I really, speaking of like the Bob's Burgers opening, one of the things that I really love about the show, obviously, like any cartoon, it takes place in just sort of limbo time-wise, right? Like all the characters are the same age. They have 70 Christmases, even though none of them have aged. But you guys still manage, even in the writing and the animation, to keep this continuity where if a character has gone through something or something has changed, even in that, like that's you don't really see that in cartoons, especially. One of the examples of that is adding the pipe bursting from the movie into the opening
into the show. That was
those things are.
We love doing that. We love seeing how a story can affect their world going forwards, and we've done it quite a fair bit recently. Yeah, with the sinkhole, the explosion at the beginning, the sinkhole being fixed. That's constantly there now. Louise recently got a bed upgrade. She got a higher bed made, and that's stayed.
Well, and even in the lead up to the movie, and this obviously the internet noticed this before I did, but you guys laid the sidewalk cracking and breaking into the episodes of the show.
That sidewalk was cracking slowly.
Other show does that.
I remember being like I just remember that no one was noticing, because to me, obviously, I'm seeing this thing every day, and I'm looking at the restaurant. I'm like, oh my God, that sidewalk's getting bad, and no one was noticing it, and I was like, this is driving me crazy. So we started adding people tripping over it. In the intro. Like the one of the episodes I directed was the first part of the Blade Runner 2-parter that we did, and we visibly had someone not only trip but like stop and be like, huh, and then carry on walking, and I think they've got to notice now.
It was solely done out of pettiness that nobody was noticing.
For me, it was. I was like, we are putting this in. But it was also like, we also led in Grover, the other fish odor cousin. We put him in a couple of episodes before the movie because we wanted to establish him so that you weren't watching the movie and being like, well, I guess the villain is this new character we've never seen before. But like, we love like references and stuff that fans might pick up on. Like we've even got an episode that coming up where Louise gets some. I won't be vague about it. Louise gets something and she puts it in her room, and we've kept that going forwards. We just like making the world. We like feeling like, you guys are coming on the journey with us. Like you guys are experiencing this with a family, and then it's just lovely to remember. Like, oh, that thing was there from that episode with that thing. It's just nice. But you just have to forget about the timeline of it all.
Yeah. And it's something the show even does. Obviously, this is more on the writing side, but it's something the show even does with the characters. Like, I feel like when you look at, like, for example, Louise's journey, Louise is now so much more giving with her friends. Like, like I said, and she's as a character so perceptive of the emotions of other people. And this is something you wouldn't assume about the character in the first couple of seasons. Yeah. So I feel like, and maybe this was like, I don't know how much you can speak to on the writing side, what you guys might have talked about. But like, I, at least from watching it, feel like that change has become even more apparent since the movie, since her whole storyline in that.
No, I agree. It's a really lovely comment because, I'm human. I'll go online and read what people thought about episodes after they've aired, and good or bad. Like I can't stop myself from doing it. And a comment that I really liked was after the Plight Before Christmas aired, where Louise is reading the poem, and Tina comes and saves her.
Another one that made me cry.
That one made me cry. Every time I watched it. It's gut-wrenching.
That one is so emotional
in a lovely way.
Yeah.
But I saw a comment that someone wrote where they felt like that particular episode was a culmination of every character's journey on that to the series so far, particularly Louise, because you see that she actually is this incredibly vulnerable and sweet kid, but with so many walls up to try and hide that when they slip, it really matters to her. And it's just love. It's lovely to be able to have characters as leveled as that.
I'm going to ask you, I'm going to not ask you to show anything because I know how this game works, but do you know what's under Louise's hat?
I do. It's funny. In our old office, so in our old, we started off in this one building in the Burbank area in LA, and they were there until season 9 or 10, and then we moved. But we had a wall of doodles on that wall, and there was a doodle of Louise without her hat on that wall, but someone had stuck a hat on top of it, so you had to peel it back to have a look. So I do know what it looks like under there.
The internet is clamoring for a reveal, and I think I speak for everybody. Who was so jealous, or not, I won't say jealous. I think everyone was so hoping that the movie
would show it.
I think so many people were itching.
I know. See. And I remember we were having conversations. Should we show it? Should we not? And ultimately we decided no, obviously.
I think it works better, obviously.
I know. Well, it's something, it's like we have a lot of shows do this, but we have a few like you'll never see the principal of the school, Principal Spores. You'll never see the mayor of the town who Linda's obsessed with. You'll never see Ginger, who Linda likes talking to. We've seen the back of her head.
Yeah.
We like having these characters and these secrets that we never see just because it's weird. It's really preposterous. And a fun challenge to shoot stuff as well, like figuring out in the movie how Louise dropped her hat but you don't see it, and the timing of her putting it back on so you just don't quite see it. It was it's all just really fun experiments for us.
Obviously it's got to be fun. You've been there for years, and you're still going, and you still love it, which is I think such there's a lot that's unspoken about artist burnout and things like that. Is that ever something that you guys feel like there really is that level of care about the people working on the show, that they, not to overwork or anything, like what can be standard in the industry a lot?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to before I got on the show. I don't know what it was like in those early seasons, but when I was the director, I'd really try and be conscious of like, it's 6:00, log off, you're done for the day. don't take this home with you. And I like I said, we went through the pandemic. I was working extra hours, working till 10 p.m. on the movie in the evenings because I wanted to. It was a choice. We really at all costs will try and avoid crunch if we need to. We have had episodes where we've changed the joke a couple of days before it aired, so there was a scramble to get that done. But by and large, we don't like to kill our workers, and a lot of our people who work on the show have been there since season 1. So, I think that speaks to how we treat our artists and everybody, not just the artists, obviously the production team, the editors, the audio people. We get to be very silly at work. Like I very often will stop meetings to just remind everybody how absolutely preposterous our jobs are, just so that we can remember, like, it's silly. What we're doing is silly, and we are so privileged that we get to, like, for example, there was an episode that aired recently where Louise, there was a drone flying over the school, and Louise was trying to ruin it by making a butt out of bushes. We had so many meetings about how many bushes make the shape of a butt. And and I would stop everyone and be like, look at what we're doing. We are spending an hour of our day looking at how many bushes make up a butt. And it's just nice to live in that moment for a moment and just remember that what we're doing is special and that we're very lucky.
Yeah, and I think, it's evident, it's evident the love and care that's put into the show. It's evident when people compare, Bob's Burgers to other things on TV. I didn't go into this episode of the podcast going, I'm just going to glaze Bob's Burgers for 2 hours, but I kind of can't not, because
I love talking about it too. I mean, I work on it, but I love the show. So I love talking about it.
Like I said to you, it truly is one of my favorite shows. I've watched the whole show. I've watched the whole show so many times that when I'll forget how long ago certain episodes were made. I'll be like, I've seen, for instance, if I like just a random one, like when Bob gets obsessed with the arcade game. Yeah, I've seen that episode so many times that I'm like, I forgot how long ago this episode.
Yes, that's an old one.
I watch it constantly. Yeah. So obviously, it's it's a big part of.
Yeah, and working in it, anyway. When you're in the show, you forget as well what has aired and what hasn't. So there's episodes coming up that I think aired years ago. My brain just completely forgets where we're up to on what thing, because we're always working on at least probably 16 episodes at a time. So I'm always just.
How do you keep that? I assume you got to be very organized, because it just feels like that's so much to coordinate at one time.
We have to be hugely organized. I mean, the directors, we have 4 directors, they each take an episode, and that's their baby for the time that they're working on it. As a supervising director, I oversee the production of all those episodes. So I have to remember, the storylines for each episode, every single shot. Because oftentimes someone will come over and be like, oh, that moment in that episode where Bob does this one thing, and I have to really quickly think of it. Being organized is imperative, yes.
Yeah. Do you, and being a supervising director, do you still get to work on animations?
I do. Yes, I do. I get to if when artists turn their files in, or the directors turn their files in, and I watch it down. If I want to tweak anything, I'm more than free to do that, or I'll just give it back with some notes. I often do end credits animations. A lot of them are done in house, but by the animation team. But sometimes I'll take one myself and just animate. Trying to think of one I did recently. Oh, it's not aired yet. Well, there's one coming that I did that hasn't aired yet. But it's Linda singing a song, and it's going to be hopefully a really cute one. But no, I still get to animate on the show, and I draw a lot of the publicity materials that come out. That's always the biggest, complete mind-blowing moment, is when I go down to San Diego for Comic-Con, and on one of the buildings there, they have a full enormous poster on the side of this enormous building, and it might be a drawing of Linda that I drew, and I'm always just like, what the hell is going on? It just, it's so crazy.
Before we wrap up, and it might have been something you've already talked about today, but of the culmination of your work on Bob's Burgers? Is there one shot or one piece of animation that you've done that has just really stuck with you? Whether it's a beautiful moment, a funny moment, but just like what is something that you still look back on? Like, I'm just so happy I got to work on this, and this means a lot to me.
So there's many. Oh my God, there's so many. The entirety of the first episode I got to direct is where Bob shrinks down and is tiny and he's going through his car. That was the first episode I directed. The whole thing of that. But if I had to pick one, it was the first time I really thought like I can do good things. I don't know if this sounds weird that I'm saying it, but the first episode of the Blade Runner two-parter that we did, there's an action sequence where Tina is in a chair and like jumps out a window and climbs up, and I storyboarded and drew that whole bit myself, and I was really, really proud of how it turned out. And that episode won an Annie Award, which is the animation version of the Emmys, and I was just incredibly proud that I was able to craft an action sequence in animation and that it worked. Because, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm constantly suffering from the most hardcore imposter syndrome all day long. So when I see things like that actually turn out well and look good, I'm always just like, ooh, it actually worked.
All right. Well, Simon, I want to just thank you again for taking the time to talk with us today. Again, I'm totally fine that it turned into a 2-hour session of talking about Bob's Burgers, because I can't think of a better show to spend 2 hours talking about.
Thank you. I've loved it.
We'll have all of your information in the description of the episode, but if you want to just plug your social handles, if you want to just tell people, watch Bob's Burgers, obviously, if there's anything you want to plug right now, feel free.
We've got more episodes. I do not know air dates, but people are asking me a lot, have we been cancelled or are we going off the air? No, I just don't know when we're coming back, but it's soon. So yeah, watch Bob's. It's all on Hulu, ready to go. And then my Instagram is where I'm most active, and that's Chunkster62, and that's where you'll find all of my silly Bob's Burgers dances, and I guess TikTok if you go to that other account that I'm not going to do.
All right. Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you for joining us
today. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening and watching the show. Critical Mass is a production of Red Mirror Media, a left-leaning production studio based out of Orlando, Florida. We aren't conservative. We aren't liberal. We are Red Mirror. Thank you again to Simon for giving us the opportunity to speak with him. You can find all of Simon's links in the description of this podcast, wherever you're listening. On the next episode of Critical Mass, I'll be joined by Arden Hart, a trans and atheist content creator who, through debate and deconstruction, is trying to fight not only for her rights, but the rights of those around her. Join us in 2 weeks for that episode. Please follow Red Mirror Media on all platforms. And special thanks for this episode to Frank Fasano. I've been Jovan Bradley, and this has been Critical Mass.